grad school, and it's been joyful to have these conversations again because I miss that kind of atmosphere of just talking about particularly photography. So thank you for inviting me. Thank you for being here. And I thought, we did meet in grad school and we started having all these conversations. And the conversations with Moira were what led me to focus on contemporary alternative process photography. So I think that was really influential to have those conversations with you and our professor, and so here we are. And to include you in my inaugural curatorial exhibition was really wonderful. So,
10 years later. Yeah.
So, and that work was your fog work, but you had in the exhibition. But before that, you've been already exploring these materials, and you had other. Do you want to talk a little bit about the origins of this work? And
Sure. So I had this amazing teacher for my Photo 1 class at CSM, Mr. Lohman, and his first question, do you know Mr. Lohman? What an incredible. He's huge. He's a huge guy.
Yeah.
And he asked this really rude question to the Photo 1 students, which I now ask my Photo 1 students, which is, what is photography? And which was just offending, and you're not going to get it right. But the definition, according to Mr. Lohman, was that it's the study and recording of light and time. And with that in my back pocket, I commenced my relationship with photography. I started studying with him when I was 16 years old. And it took me a really long time to kind of figure out what that meant with form and function. But when you get to the centerpiece of what photography is, it is a simple understanding. It takes the mechanics out of it. It takes the mysticism out of it, I guess. So when I got to grad school, it was a moment in my life where I was finally able just to focus on my pictures and on photography. And so it was a really selfish time in my life, but man, it was just the best. And so being able to stop worrying about, holding employment and all that stuff, I really wanted to break down what a photograph is and is not, and how to let photography speak for itself. I attach myself pretty significantly to the conception and the invention of photography, that it is the pencil of nature. And as much as I know that to be true, I also know that the moment the first photograph was made, the next thought was likely, how can I make this better? And so, in turn, photography is married to its own technological advancement. And perhaps there's a lot that we've missed along that momentum. And so how can I step back and let photography be herself and be the pencil of nature and speak for herself? And so when I got to grad school, I was able to kind of break that down, and what do I really need? I need a camera. The definition of camera is dark room. I need something light sensitive, maybe. And then how am I going to approach this? And so I was curious about making photographs that were more true to experience than true to perhaps human perception or the swiftness of a shutter speed. And so I made my first project working this way was called Accumulations, and so I made a fleet of cameras in the shape of birdhouses that were light tight but not weather tight, because I wanted the paper negatives I was using to be made vulnerable by the landscape, and so that they would also have further dialogue in their making. And so the introduction of moisture, fog, rain, mist off the coast allowed for both the magnification of light on my negatives, but also the movement of the film plane as well. So the resulting photographs are really like kind of painterly landscape exposures that were several weeks to several months. I used those cameras again because I was like, well, how do you photograph really let's pick a subject, and how am I going to photograph that in the landscape? And so I photographed the wind with these little cameras, and so if these are lumen prints, but I'm also very curious about the pot, like how do you develop and make a paper negative that is actually processed, and so I was working with that as well, which is really technical. clips and headaches and things. And so after about a year of testing, I was able to figure out how to make paper negatives that could hold a smaller exposure. The long exposures of accumulations using the birdhouses for several months were really seared in. The image gets seared into the light-sensitive emulsion. But if I wanted to photograph for 12 hours instead, then I would need to figure out how to make that come true. And so I figured out processes to do that. So I photographed the wind with these birdhouse cameras, and I put, it was like a study of the wind in a little oak tree in Three Rivers, California. And so I put, my 13 little cameras in the tree, and they oscillated from sun up to sundown. And the result was 13 photographs of the wind. Then I made the fog. And so the fog was, I lived in Pacifica in the foggiest part of the foggy part. And it's where I would say that it was just to be fogging just really hard. It would just be fogging so hard. And so the fog would come in and then would get everything soaking wet and dripping. There's these eucalyptus trees that would sound like it was raining, because these trees are designed to hold water in drought and then just like water themselves. And they do, man. They really are aggressive water hogs. So it sounds like it's raining, and it's really just, July.